Hey folks, good morning. I'm attorney Roger P. Foley, and this morning I'm going to talk to you about depositions. And the reason I'm going to speak to you about depositions is I got a case and I got to take depositions. So what the heck are depositions? Depositions are when you take the sworn statement of witnesses. Those witnesses can be civilian witnesses, they can be experts, they can be police officers, they can be victims. So I have a case that's quite serious, and it involves firearms and threats on life and shootings of firearms. And I don't want to go into the facts, but so what am I going to do? So today I'm going to take the deposition of two of the witnesses, which happen to be police officers. And one of the officers on scene, there's no supplemental reports in the discovery. And what do I mean by that? Sorry, as I kind of move around my cabin here. Oftentimes, or most of the time, when there's an arrest and it's a serious case, right? A 3rd degree, 2nd degree, 1st degree felony, that kind of thing. There are numerous police reports and findings and evidence tags. So in this case, I have one officer, and I don't really see any reference to him in the initial police report, the arrest, the probable cause affidavit, right? The officer that arrests. It doesn't really say anything about this officer in there. And in the supplemental reports written by other officers, I don't see a supplemental report. Now, it could be, it could be that the state got it and accidentally didn't get it to me. It's possible. It's possible that this officer just didn't have a lot of input or involvement in the case, but he is listed as an A witness. And just so you know, when the state attorney sends us defense attorneys witness list, they have category A, which, hey, these are really important. And then they have category B, not so important, category C, kind of like, not so important. Now, they make that determination, but I always look through it to determine who I want to depose. And I depose everybody, because you know what I find? I find the guy or the gal that had the littlest input often brings the most to the table for me. Because it's the rookie officer, it's the guy that's lower on the totem pole, and they got their body camera on, and then I find out during a deposition that, hey, yeah, I have a body camera. Yeah, oh yeah, I'll upload it. Oh, send it to the state, get it. And then I see conversations of other officers, because the more experienced officers, or the not so good officers, they turn their cameras off all the time. But the rookie, the guy lower on the totem pole, the less experienced guy, they don't always do that. And I've gotten some really good trinkets of information that have helped me win cases by making sure I look at everybody. And sometimes sometimes I think the prosecutor's like, are we going through every single, yep, I said every single officer. Yeah, there's 30 officers, yep, and then we're gonna do them. And I do it. And I think a lot of defense attorneys do that, because you wanna make sure that you have all the information, especially on serious cases. So let's go to the deposition. In order to set a deposition, I have to coordinate with the state attorney's office, whoever the state attorney is on the case. Their secretary and I go back and forth, and we coordinate dates. Hey, the prosecutor's available on such and such date, such and such time, you have the afternoon. So today in the afternoon, we have 1:30 and 2:30 depo set. The next week or tomorrow, we have some other ones set. Next week, we have some other set, because there's several officers. Now, because this first officer that I'm going to do, I don't know anything. So I'm going to ask, and I don't know this officer, right? Usually, sometimes you get to know officers. You see a lot of officers on the same cases. So I'm going to start off with, good afternoon, sir. Can you state your name and spell it for the record? Okay. With what police department are you with? It's my understanding you're with the police department. Okay, I'm with, so-and-so. How long have you been there? When did you go to the academy? What training have you had? What private courses other than the academy have you had? who's your current supervisor, how long have you been on road patrol, or how long you've been a detective, etc. If you're a detective, what area that you mostly concentrate, if you're road patrol, or you mostly traffic enforcement and 911, and kind of go through some of those things. Then I'm going to get to, at some point, I'm going to transition over to, how did you come to be on this case? Were you dispatched? Were you called on the phone by another officer? How was that acquired? I want it to be through dispatch because I want to look at the CAD reports and I want to confirm that. I confirm everything a witness is telling me. Yes, I was called on the CAD, right? I was called to dispatch. This is dispatch. Car 6-2 needs additional backup. Okay, I want to see that, because if the officer tells me that, I want to see that. Because you never know what you may have to hang your hat on, right? We don't always get the best cases, right? They prosecute a lot of cases, so you gotta be detail oriented. So I'll go through that. Then when he gets there, I'm gonna say, okay, what time did you get there? How do you know that you got there? I didn't see a report. Did you write a report? If you did, have you turned it over to the state attorney's office? Okay, you have. Now, depending on, do you have a copy of your report with you? If you do, may I take a look at it? Because then I can look at it right there on the spot and not have to solicit the judge to take another deposition because I don't have all the discovery and I couldn't do my job right. I can usually read it right there and formulate questions. It's not the ideal situation, but that's what you do. A lot of times when I don't have a report, they go, yeah, I have my report with me. Boom, thanks. I look at it, I read it, and then I can ask questions from it. And then I can extrapolate from the questions, right? It says in your report that you arrived at 4:55. How do you get that time? Oh, well, I get it. I call in on the CAD report, right? I call it a dispatch, or I look at my watch or whatever, right? I look at my phone, and then I can ask other questions. Now, sometimes you might think they're not relevant, but you know, is your phone given to you by the police department? Is it part of the materials that they give you being a police officer, or is it your private phone? Okay, because I want to know about calibration. I want to know about everything. Now, I'm just giving you an example. I don't know that I'll ask all those questions because time isn't really an issue on this case. I'm going to then transition to, okay, when you were on scene, did you come into contact with my client? You did or you didn't, right? You either did or you didn't. Did you speak to him directly? Yes or no? Did you overhear him speaking with other officers or other detectives? Yes or no? If yes, what did you overhear? Remember, in a deposition, there's really not objections to hearsay and whatever, so you gather as much information as you can, and then you determine what can be admissible in court, and the judge will do that. And if you're not sure about something, you can file motions and you can request the court to make a determination of whether something's admissible or not, and make your argument for why it is or why it's not, right? Because you have to also think about what the state attorney is going to do. So the key to depositions is asking a lot of questions. It's not the movies like, where were you on? It's not that. It's, hey officer, how you doing? Okay, tell me about this. What did you hear? After you did that, did you note it? Did you document it? Did you carry evidence? Did you collect any evidence? If you collected it, did you carry it? Did you, is there a chain of custody? Do you have that document? You have to find out everything that officer did, and if they didn't do it, because sometimes you think they've completed a task that they haven't, then you got to find out what officer did. And if they say, well, I don't know. Well, what officers were on scene? I don't know. Well, how would you acquire that information? If I and the state attorney in the court needs that information, how do you acquire? Oh, well, on that call, I can go back to dispatch and I can see all the units, because every time a unit comes in, they check in. What about detectives? Yes, they would check in too. Okay, right? And then I can acquire that information, or I can figure out how to get that information from the police department. And if the state can't get it for me in discovery, I file a motion to compel it and tell the judge what I want, and then the judge can order that the police department hand it directly over to the state and myself. So depositions, which are not allowed in every state, in Florida, misdemeanor and felony, but you know, felony, you can take a deposition on anything. Misdemeanors, you need permission of the court and good cause. Sorry, I got a little sinus thing going on. So it's important to ask all the questions that discuss what the witness's involvement is, but then also ask the same questions or same type, try to be the exact same questions that you would use, or I would use, in a motion hearing or in a trial. Because if I ask the same question and the officer or whatever witness is being deposed gives me a different answer, well, now I have something to impeach with, right? Because they've changed their answer. Were you lying then or you're lying now, right? The double-edged sword. You're screwed either way if I get you. So the second officer that I'll be dealing with today is a technician, and they collect evidence. So if there's bullets, if there's fragments, if there's blood, they're going to be collecting that evidence, photographing it, and I have to go through whatever documents they have. Now, on this case, I have a good amount of pictures and photographs. I have some video. I don't have as much as I would like, so I want to ask this tech investigator, you know, what their role was, what was their goal, had they formed any conclusions, did any other officers instruct them to do anything that they did or didn't do. I want to know who instructed them, who guided them, right? Because tech people don't just show up. They are guided by a higher up that says, hey, I need you to come over here and take pictures of the body or of the accident, right? And they're going to photograph everything, measure things, that kind of thing. So it's important. A lot of times people call me up and they say, hey, you know, I got a case up in like next month for trial, and you know, I don't really seem too happy with my attorney. And I said, okay, well, let me look at the docket. And I look at the docket, and when I file a request or a motion to take depots, or if I set a depot, I have to file a document. It's called Notice of Taking Deposition, and it's public record. It alerts the court, the state attorney, and the public, I guess, if you're public and you're looking it up, what was done on the case, right? Did I take a deposition? Was it scheduled? It doesn't say that I completed the depot, but it says it was scheduled. So if I do a notice of taking a deposition, and for some reason I'm not going to take it, I cancel it, I get sick, the officer gets sick, the witness is sick, the state attorney's not available, something happens, I'm then obligated to file a notice of cancellation of deposition. So those records would be there. And I can't tell you how many times people go, yeah, I'm going to trial, but I just, you know, I don't know, I just got a gut feeling, and their gut feeling's right, because I go, I'm looking on the docket, and there's, hey, you're accused of drug trafficking, and I don't see a motion to take depositions. Were any depositions taken? I don't know. Well, I don't see any. I mean, did you go over anything? No. I mean, subpoena duces tecums for records of third parties, like maybe there was a Walmart across the street or a Publix that may have had cameras. The incident took place in a public parking lot or something like that. I don't see any of that. Do you know if there's any video or audio in your case? No, I don't know. I mean, I listened to some audio, but I know he was asking for something else, but I don't think he ever got it. I don't see a motion to compel. Why do we take depositions? Because you have to know all the facts. There's no aha moments in jury trials, contrary to what the movies tell you guys. And when I say aha moments, right, it's, you don't want the truth. You know, that kind of thing. Tom Cruise movies, right? It's very rare that you have an aha moment. As a defense attorney, you should know, and you should have already asked during deposition, especially on felony cases, the questions of what the witnesses did, didn't do, saw, etc. Because if you don't, then how can you discuss with your client what your odds are at trial? You know, many people call me up and say, I want a trial. Okay. Everybody seems to. Hey, did you know that if you go to trial and lose on a felony case that, you know, I don't know, high 90% chance that you're going to go to prison, you're going to be incarcerated? Huh? But I'm innocent. Yeah, but, well, we have to establish your innocence. Yes, you're innocent. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? It's a big farce. I shouldn't say that. You are innocent until proven guilty, but part of what your attorney's doing, and he's not required to do this, so other attorneys that are watching this, don't give me the flack. The goal is to prove your innocence, right? Now, how do you prove it, your innocence, right? It's by reasonable doubt and conflicts of evidence, lack of evidence, you know, that kind of thing. Failing to have the required elements of the crime. So your attorney, through depositions, acquires and asks questions about all. There's a video. Well, maybe the video starts at halfway through a scene. Don't you want to know what happened before the scene? Maybe the person with the video camera can explain that. Maybe the officer heard that information from a victim or from somebody else, from another witness. It's important to know and put all these pieces together. It really is a puzzle, because we get a very succinct document called the probable cause affidavit or an arrest form. And it basically says, your client, Mr. Jones, is a horrible person. He committed murder. He sold drugs. He stole items. You know, he shot at this person. He killed this person. He stabbed this person. You know, whatever it is. And it's kind of like dot, 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 dot. And they're not very long. I mean, I've had cases where they're like 10 pages or 12 pages or 16 pages. But most probable cause affidavits, less than 3 pages. That's the reality. It's not really long. And a lot of times officers write conclusions like, based on the evidence, I concluded that there's, you know, probable cause to arrest the defendant for, you know, burglary, for armed robbery, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And they don't really say everything that, like, they leave gaps. And how do you determine it, right? It's like putting a puzzle together. You have to ask the questions in deposition, and that's how you get the evidence. So depositions are a huge key. I was reviewing the case the day before yesterday at length, spent a bunch of the day going over stuff with my client, and I'm going to review it a little bit more before my depo, and who, what, when, where, why. Who were you? What were you doing? Where were you? When did you do it? Why did you do it? Who directed you to do it? Ask questions. If you have a felony case, your attorney should likely be taking depositions. Sometimes not, but I don't think I would ever want to go to trial on a case that I hadn't taken depositions on. So anyway, I'm attorney Roger Foley. I'm blabbering about depositions and why I think they're useful and how you're supposed to use them. So you didn't know? Now you know. Have a great day. See ya.